give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Welcome to Talktainment Radio, the Wednesday, October the 17th, 2018 edition. Our topic today is a continuation of what we started last week, part 2 of the, I don't know why I keep wanting to say but anyway, the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy, racism. Mr. Fuller and I will discuss that, or Mr. Fuller will discuss that. And if I have an opinion, I will try to, well, I will ask Mr. Fuller if I can give it, but I will try not to give my opinion. So most of your questions, or basically all of your questions, should be directed to Mr. Fuller. Now, I will answer them off air, but this is Mr. Fuller's thing, and that's what we all, including yours truly, want to hear what Mr. Fuller has to say regarding that. We also will have your Gmails, and I am loaded with Gmails, so I will, if I get the chance to read them, I will. I am not going to ignore them, but the phone calls come first. So if you have something to say about that, then you might be better if you can get through. Some of you, I know you have a lot to say and express it before you ask your questions. And that's fine, except that it's beginning to take too much time because some of you have written basically long letters. So what I'm going to do is get to the question of whatever you're stating, unless it's VGQ. For those of you who have been with the program, you know what that is, VGQ. But I'm going to get to the questions of it, and then we'll see what's going on with that. Okay, let's see. Don't forget that we are also doing the donations, and there will be a special announcement, for that. Okay, let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, you are still learning. A question in the area of the program that we are talking about, the emasculation and the feminization of the black male in the system of racism, white supremacy. What are your thoughts, as you have been around for quite a while and you've seen a lot of things happen? What do you see? What does Neely Fuller see in that regard?
Well, to the extent that white supremacist has anything to do with the sexuality of black people worldwide, and they always make sure that they have absolute control over that, the sexuality of black people or non-white people, either directly or indirectly through media or whatever, the influences and whatnot. They want to have the dominant influence, as they do in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, for sure, and war. Because when you are going to dominate people, if you're really going to be efficient at it over a long period of time, you have to dominate them in all areas of activity, in everything, in their economics, in their education, in all areas of activity all of the time. You have to be the dominant influence. And for sure, You have to be the dominant influence in anything that has power to it. Now, sexuality of people is very powerful. People's minds, how is it powerful? People's minds are either connected with something sexual all the time, or whereas on a personal level, or even involved with other people. There's always a subliminal message of sexuality of some type in advertising or anything, or in everything that people say, everything that people do. When it comes to the restrooms and whatnot, you have to think about the sexuality of people. If you're putting up a building, I mean, what facilities are you going to have for male or for female? You make everything gender specific. Well, the white supremacists now are so desperate, apparently, it seems like they're desperate, and have been, say, for the last, I'll say, 40 years. They have really ramped it up, and it's almost like they're in a frenzy to cause as much confusion, because you can't dominate people unless you can cause confusion, and they're going all out to cause as much confusion in the sexuality of non-white peoples. Everywhere that they can, any kind of confusion. Just scramble it up as much as you possibly can. Just drive them completely insane when it comes to anything that even hints of sexuality. Everywhere you look, every time, turn on your television, look in magazines and whatnot, they're just stepping on the gas everywhere. And this is what this is all about. Why? Because the more confusion you can cause, not only in sexuality, but in religion or economics, the more confusion you can cause in any one person's mind, the easier it is to dominate that person. So this is what this is all about, in my opinion. I could be in error. It could be a huge improvement in what's so-called liberalization of sexuality, breaking out of the old mores, the old traditions and whatnot, and just scatter it all over the place as much as you possibly can, and as fast as you possibly can. I mean, coming up with new types of genders, and not just saying gender is not just male and female. Gender can be anything. Gender can be, hundreds of things, not just a few, 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, which is where it is now. But actually, if you use your imagination, you can come up with maybe 200 or 300 different types of genders, all right? And then that would be a great improvement over anything that we have ever had before. Now, that is what the white supremacists are telling the non-white people of this world. It's, your genders, the genderization, male, female, that's a stagnant idea. That's old-fashioned. That is so primitive. That is so backward. I mean, that is not liberating at all. You need to expand your minds, not only in every area of activity, which some areas need to be expanded, but then when they say that you're going to eradicate gender as it has been known, and you're going to present this as to black people as one of the most progressive ideas ever thought up. Forget about the housing, forget about eradicating disease, polluted air all over, and polluted water wherever you find black people anywhere on the planet. Just put that on the back burner. You got to do something about your sexuality. Your sexuality is all out of sync with modern day thinking. So you have to really drop everything and get serious about this. Drop your religions, whatever they happen to be, and get serious about this scatterization, this pluralization of sexuality. That's really what you black people really need more than anything. I mean, be serious about it. Put it in your churches. Put it in your schools, full tilt. I mean, you got to get with this. This is imperative. I mean, don't worry about global warming and all like that. Don't worry about trying to pay off your house note. Put that on the back burner. try to get this sexuality, in correct perspective. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind, as always. And you black people don't want to be left behind. You want to be up to date. So we white supremacists are telling you, we're at last finally giving you something you can really use and really need more than anything. Teach your young people this, what we're trying to tell you. And you might ask the question, Fuller, you're talking this stuff. Is this really true? Or are you just you got some kind of personal hang-up about something or something? Why are you harping on this? I'm harping on it because I think that the white supremacists are definitely harping on it, either directly or indirectly. Look in the Washington Post this morning. Draw your own conclusions based on what I started saying in 1972. The feminization of black males is one day going to be full tilt. Black males are going to all grow up, starting with just the ornaments and whatnot, little small things that people didn't pay any attention to, because I started paying attention to it many years ago. I said, wait a minute, where does this earring thing come from? That's usually associated with females, not that people in ancient times. Indian tribes and whatnot, they had all kind of ornaments on. But that didn't have anything to do with their masculinity. But see, it's not so much what is on the surface, it's what the purpose of it is. And in what you call Western culture, for a long time, lipstick and, facial paint in what you call the white culture was usually associated with feminization. So back about maybe 40 years ago, they started, and it took on and took root. A lot of white people were doing it, and then they kind of drew back from it a little bit, the earpieces. But black people, if you notice, are still wearing the earpieces, even though a lot of white males have discarded the earpieces, even though they started it back in the 1960s and 70s. All right? And then the long hair thing was a white thing, okay? But now they've gotten the black males, sitting in front of that mirror, and hair worship is now taking up a whole lot of mental space. Hey, I got to get my braids are not long enough. They only come down to my shoulders. I got to catch up. So now they come down to below your waist, and then they'll be dragging the ground. Then I don't know where it's going to go from there. But this is all a part of this piece by piece stealth. Then the high heels, like they started that off in the 1970s with the tight pants with no pockets and the high heels. Well, that went for a little while, but a lot of black males didn't like that, because a lot of black males are engaged in things like robbery. All right? So, hey, when the sneakers came in, they grabbed that right away, because you can run in sneakers. You can't run in high heels, those big cloppy high heels that they had in the 1970s in the Northwestern Hemisphere, the Superfly look. You can't be a very good bus station robber in that type of garb. You can't hide your stuff. If you pick somebody's pocket or rob somebody, you ain't got nowhere to put your stuff. Because those flare pants with the bell bottoms, they didn't have any pockets. Whatever you stick in your pocket, you ain't going to be able to hide it. Plus, you couldn't hide one of your main things, that 9mm pistol. There was nowhere to put it. It just didn't go with the garb. So the white supremacists, they said, hey, this is not going to work on black people. We thought it would. But they discarded that. Okay. So we'll just change the style. So now, right after that, what happened? The balloon pants. That made it easier. We bought that right away. Why? You can hide 2 or 3 guns in those pants that bulge out a lot. A lot of people may not remember it, but the balloon pants, the pants with the real big legs that flared out. Looked like balloons for a while. while.
Okay.
So that got us back on track.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope I'm not digressing too much.
No.
But I'm saying this is all being orchestrated, not by us, the victims, but by whom? The usual suspects. Be suspicious of anything that just comes out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, black people just grab hold to it because we're so desperate to be noticed. We're so desperate to do something different because our situation calls for us to be different.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we need to be doing things that are different, but not just anything.
Yes, sir.
And the white supremacists have a plan. They say, hey, if you start letting black people think on their own, that's dangerous. We learned that from the slave runaways and all like that. That comes from thinking on your own. So we got to always guide their thinking and guide all of their customs and all of their habits. And, being a gangster and all like that, we got to control that and guide it and keep it so that it is what? Destructive. Non-white people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can get in contact with Mr. Fuller. Also, you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. You can also listen live to the program by just going to the Talktainment Radio homepage. At the top, listen live, and you right there like and subscribe to the button to the show. Also, you can do this. Go to the YouTube channel and type in Talktainment. You scroll down to where it says radio, and then you hit that button, then type in Talktainment number 2, and you are also right there where you can like and share the button. And one more way, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you're there. Those are all the ways. Now, TalktainmentRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, politics. So here's one that I am going to share with you, and it is called The Kinsman. Now, if you have never heard of this show, it would be to your advantage to listen to Brother Malik Hero speak about issues concerning black men in particular, but black people. The Kinsman, a show that is exclusive to TalktainmentRadio.com, and that's radio the way it should be heard. We are discussing on this Wednesday, the 17th of October, 2018, I don't know why I want to call it emasculation and the feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy, racism. I'm going to take a Gmail here, and here's one that I'm going to take. It says, to Mr. Fuller, and to reduce the stress off of Mr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller says, we should meditate and not celebrate. I meditate 4 hours a day, not all at once. I say as a mantra, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I smile at my fear. I use the logic that produces intelligent fear. Can you ask Mr. Fuller if he would be willing to say a compensatory statement that will revitalize all of our minds together, replacing racism with justice?
Well, that's just it. Replacing the system of racism with justice. That's what all the meditation should be about. You don't just meditate just to be meditating, or just sitting there, mumbling to yourself. You're just sitting there mumbling to yourself. You got to be saying something to yourself about, now how do I go about doing something of constructive value once I come out of this meditative trance?
Mm-hmm.
All right? That's what it's all about. Otherwise, you just might as well just sit there and meditate and meditate and meditate until you fall over dead. What is that worth? See, whatever you do is supposed to produce a constructive result and something that you can measure. See, the white supremacists, that's the way they operate. They're only interested in what will make them stronger.
Mm-hmm.
In doing something. And this is why they have the envy and the consternation and the fear, the white supremacists. Not talking about all white people. I'm talking about those who are the most powerful minds and the most powerful people that the world has ever seen. That's those white people who believe in practicing white supremacy, as it is in 2018, the most powerful people that the world has ever witnessed. Nobody has proven to be more powerful in all of recorded history than those white people who believe in the system of white supremacy. Now, in order to get in that position, they have to be totally scientific. I mean, not just sitting around making small talk. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of burning of midnight oil. It takes a lot of thinking. It takes going over things in fine detail about what works and what doesn't work, and discard everything that doesn't work immediately, and hold on tenaciously that everything that does work how? To make them more powerful. That's how.
Okay.
That's all they think about.
All right.
That's why they are the most efficient people that the world has ever seen. And everybody, people of color, caters to them.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1, you're on with Mr. Fuller.
Peace. Mr. Fuller, speaking on the degenderization of the black male, they're targeting our children now. I just want to know your input on how do we speak to our young children about the degenderization of the black male and how they can get on code. How can we speak to our children?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
I always say one thing right out of the code book about age, because when we say children, we're talking about age, because actually every non-white person on the planet is a child in the system of white supremacy. I am a child, regardless of how old I get. It doesn't have anything to do with a calendar. It has to do with my status in the system of white supremacy. And I have a child, the status of a child, the status, if you want to use that term. I have the level of power of a child in the system of white supremacy. I'm a prisoner of war. Prisoners of war are children. I don't care how tough they were before they became prisoners. Once you become a prisoner of war, you have been reduced to a childlike state. And you are catering to the people who are mature. The people who are mature are the people who have you in the prison. And white supremacy is a world prison. So you get into the core of your question. You tell everybody of any age the same thing. So people always ask that, what do you tell children? What do you tell children? And then scratch your heads about what to tell children. You tell anybody of any age. You just don't put that child label on it. Doesn't make any difference what age they are. You tell them the truth. But here's the crucial thing. You have to tell them in a way that they understand what you're saying. And when is the best time to do that? With anybody of any age, when they start asking questions. Be ready with the truthful answer to all questions. Don't say you're not ready for this answer. They're ready for the answer when they ask the question. Doesn't make any difference whether they're 5 years old or 105.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, are you familiar with the strawman theory or the CQV theory?
Familiar with the what?
CQV theory. Strawman and the CQV theory.
CQV series?
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Okay, never heard of it. Okay. All right, let's do this. From the Gmails. Mr. Fuller, this comes from, I'm not even going to attempt to read the name, but anyway, it says this. Mr. Fuller, if love and justice are the same thing, then I don't understand why you say we can ask for justice, but not for love.
You should use the word. That's all I'm saying. Ask for justice. don't ask for love. Love is, if you're talking about the emotional love, which is not what I'm talking about. I'm saying according to the compensatory code, but in popular talk, people do not think of love and justice as being one and the same. So I'm addressing that part of don't ask for love.
Mm-hmm.
When people think that, you don't that emotional thing, whatever it is that people want emotionally. Well, why don't you love me? I mean, put your arms around me. I mean, put me into that little cocoon where I can feel safe with you, where I can feel close to you and you feel close to me. We're talking about feelings. But see, I'm talking about a practice of not mistreating people when I talk about justice. And the compensatory definition for justice is the same as love. That's not the dictionary definition. See, but I just want people, so it won't be confusion, to understand I'm speaking within the compensatory context when I say love and justice are one and the same, according to compensatory counter-racist logic. We make it that way. It's not that way in the use, the average person's mind. It's not that way in a dictionary. I don't think you'll look in any English language dictionary and find that love is synonymous with justice. But that's only in counter-racist logic. So I make the distinction between the two. I hope I haven't added to the confusion in doing that.
Well, I think when you put it in that term, compensatory logic, then that narrows it down to specifically what you are addressing.
Yes, I'm saying that's the way it should be looked at.
Yes.
All right. But when I talk about don't ask people for love within the way that it's usually used, that's the way I'm using it.
Mm-hmm.
In the way it's usually used. But if you change that word to justice, yes, you do ask people for that word and ask people for the practice that goes with that word. And what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. Underline, guarantee. And guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. You have to have those two elements in order to have justice. Justice does not exist anywhere on the planet. And there's no record of it ever existing. So everybody who needed constructive help got it. And nobody was being mistreated. I don't know of no place where that has existed in history, and no place definitely where it exists now.
Plain and simple as that.
Yes.
Even if you check the historical records that have been put down, and even those are suspect at best, you still will not find in any period of time where there ever has been justice. Would that be correct?
As far as I know, except maybe with the possible exception of, in biblical terms, that's the King James Bible, in Genesis, the story of Adam and Eve. Nobody was being mistreated, and the people that needed help the most got the most constructive help in the Garden of Eden, because it was just two people here, according to what the preachers have told me. Just two, nobody else. Adam and Eve. Adam came first, Eve came next, and they were in a perfect state. They didn't want for anything, any kind of help that they needed, they got it, and they didn't mistreat each other.
But something happened.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Right. And ever since then, according to preachers themselves, everything has been all messed up.
Alrighty.
Nothing has been correct, according to many Christian ministers.
Alrighty. Here goes the music. TalkTainRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkTainRadio.com app to your cell, to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We have a question that's going to deal with page 95 of the revised code. So get your books ready so that Mr. Fuller can address that. All that and more coming up next on TalkTainRadio.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kitchen online. A-S-H-K-I-C-K-I-N. Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kitchen products are better than those other guys. Ash Kitchen candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling alright. A-S-H-K-I-C-K-I-N. Shop Ash Kitchen online at www.ashkickkin.com. Everyone's talking about the local cannabis forum. St. Dominic Roman Catholic Church, 453 North 20th Street, Columbus, Ohio. Saturday, October 20th from 10 to 1 with S. Yolanda Robinson and Kahana in Ohio as moderators. Sponsored by Blacks in Government, Federally Employed Women, and a host of other organizations. And meet the candidates and find out who really supports your issue.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving a high school diploma? Are you ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old? Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
You trusted Judge Terry Jameson when you elected her in 2012. She came to the domestic and juvenile court with experience as a trial lawyer in criminal, domestic, and juvenile law, serving Columbus and Franklin County residents. Re-elect Judge Terry Jameson to the Court of Common Pleas, Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch. Judge Terry Jameson, justice tempered with mercy, because your family matters.
I'm Judge Terry Jameson. I'm asking for your vote on November the 6th, 2018. I was voted on by the community because your family matters. Thank you.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Robinson. I own the Color Brothers Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obba.org or call 614-127-8226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join on us.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inahara, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimitRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Go ahead. Make my day. I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
Alrighty, TalkTimitRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimitRadio.com app to your cell, to your tablet. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our on topic today is the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy, of racism. Before we left, I said that we were going to address a caller, or rather a statement that was made by one of our Gmailers, page 95 of the revised, expanded edition of the book. But before we go there, we have a phone call, so let's address the phone call. Caller, you are on. Go ahead, please.
Are you talking to me?
I am speaking with you, sir.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. I noticed that on social media when I post or when I see other posts or topics concerning counter racism, there's not, it's like total silence as far as feedback. However, when I post random topics, I get all types of feedback. Should I just stop posting about counter racism and just concentrate on applying the code within my own life, or just continue to try to keep posting and receiving not much feedback? And that ends my question.
Okay, Mr. Fuller.
Well, mostly you just go about your everyday pursuits. The code is designed to be addressed to the individual person.
Yes.
In 2 words, three words, constructive problem solving. With the emphasis on problem solving, but making it constructive. That's it. Each and every day. What's the best way to go about solving a problem in the most constructive manner? That's code. That's the whole code. And just stick with that. It's not spreading what you call traditional propaganda or anything like that. It's just solving problems. The people of the world are crying out for problems to be solved. So all real codification is, counter-racist codification, is about constructive problem solving. Now the white supremacists say, oh yes, I can solve problems. I got all kinds of ways of solving problems. I'm the problem-solving master. See, so they'll say, is there a problem going on in Somalia? And they'll say, yes, we got all kinds of problems in Somalia. Okay, well, my way of solving the problems in Somalia is to drop some barrel bombs. All right? So, yeah, no people, who are crying about their problems or whatever, or trying to settle their disputes or whatever, you drop a bomb on all of them, then problem solved. That's right, there's nobody there. I mean, you just say, hey, empty that space and turn it over to the elements, the sun and the moon and whatnot, and the sand and whatnot. Hey, just drop a bomb on them. That'll take care of that. Okay, next problem. Drop a bomb on that. They are problem solvers. They're the strongest in the world when it comes to problem solving. But codification, counter-racist codification, is about finding the best way to solve the smallest or the largest problem on a daily basis by individuals, wherever you happen to be, and do so in the most constructive manner. That's all. You don't scratch your head and worry about people not picking up on what you're saying or anything like that. Just say that you are here to solve problems.
Okay.
Now, what's the best procedure for solving problems? Questions and answers.
Questions and answers. Okay. All righty. Get ready, everybody. Mr. Fuller, I hope that you have page 95 of the revised expanded, thank you, edition. This comes from Gigi. Now, Gigi, I did answer the second question that was addressed to me, and I did Gmail you what you now have in your possession. But this is the question that she has for you, Mr. Fuller. She said that white supremacy, racism, in common, wait a minute, these two questions, which I did answer one, have only the system of white supremacy, racism in common, but are otherwise unrelated. Okay, here's the first question. The first question from Mr. Fuller, on page 95 of the revised edition of the code, you advise to ask direct help from white classified persons and the same last name. What was your personal experience in doing this, Mr. Fuller? If you've done it, did you exceed or succeed in getting help, and was it of a constructive nature?
Well, I've never done that because I've never run into anybody, any white people who had the same last name as me. I've never run into a person named Fuller who was white in my entire existence. I have
That was good. Go ahead.
But if you happen to encounter your name is Jones or Johnson, I mean, you should, and that person is right, you have the same last name as that right person, and you're a person that is black, well, according to people like whom they call the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's where our names came from in the Northwestern Hemisphere. Black people's names came from white people who owned them, their family chain. So it's logical under compensatory law that these are the people who should step forward. In fact, white people who are named Johnson should try to find black people who are named Johnson and say, how can I help you? Because, hey, my ancestors, I was able to be successful based on your captivity.
Okay.
And everything that I have now as Mr. William Johnson, and I'm a white person, and I got all this money, and I'm doing well, and all of the Johnson family going way back. I mean, hey, we've done quite well.
Okay.
You people, you black people named Johnson, you haven't been doing too well. So when I run into a black person named Johnson, and I'm a white man, and my name is Johnson, I say, Mr. Johnson, I mean, my ancestors probably owned your ancestors just like I own you now, directly and indirectly under the system of white supremacy. So is there any help that I can give you? Let me know.
Okay, so hypothetically, if my last name was Jones and I knew that Mr. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and my last name is Jones, I should be able to go up to him and ask him for help?
Sure. You say, is your name Mr. Jones? Mr. Jerry Jones? And if he says yes, you say, well, my name is Jones, and we may have something in common, And do you think that we should discuss this, if you're willing to?
Oh, okay.
And if he will, fine.
Okay.
But if he won't, I'm quite sure he'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Let me say this. Do you have that page 95 yet?
I have it.
Okay, now, in bold letters, I guess almost at the end of the page, you said, could you just read that statement so everybody can understand where we're about seek to have?
Seek to have all white persons who have the same last name as yourself. You can start right there in your school or wherever you are, if you're in the army or anything, okay, to give you direct help in some or all of your financial, technical, and or educational efforts. Now notice I was very specific. Page 95 on the economics in the revised expanded edition of the textbook. Seek to have all white persons who have the same last name as yourself. For instance, family name, historical title, etc. And have that person give you direct help, because you're asking for help.
Yes.
White people are in position to give the help most black people. They really are. Some white people are not. But most white people can give some kind of help, even if it's what I have listed here. Financial. Most white people have more money than black people.
Really?
Technical.
Mm-hmm.
Technical. I'm going to say that again. Most white people have more money in the Northwestern Hemisphere, I don't know about other places, than most black people.
Yes.
I mean, the statistics show that. Jobs and whatnot, you get more money. So financial, that would be first.
Yes.
Financial help. All right? Technical. A white person say, I don't have no money, buddy. I mean, hey, I'm struggling. I'm just trying to make it. And he'll be telling the truth. Or she. So you say, well, maybe you can give me some technical assistance. Technical how? Anything, any kind of information. Where can I get a job? Who do I talk to? Give me a phone number of somebody who can help me solve my problem, whatnot. That's technical information. And or educational efforts. Can you help me to learn something that I don't know, that I need to know? These are the things I have listed. Financial, technical, and or educational.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that last name. People are always saying, including white people, how do you solve this race problem? What's the best way to go about doing it? Well, you can just start with your family name. I mean, let's just talk to white people. We got to get somewhere. We got to start somewhere. What's the best way to start? This might be one of them. Well, you just start with the family name, all right? And that's a direct line. Hey, my father, you're Mr. Thomas, I come from a long line of Thomases.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we never moved outside of that line. This is a white person talking. And so, the original Thomases, of South Carolina, we had slaves like you wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we named all of our slaves Thomas.
Okay.
All right? So you might be one of the people, who are not doing well here in 2018. You might be one of our slaves going way back.
Okay.
All right? So, hey, since I'm going to start helping people to get along and whatnot, I'll just start with the Thomases.
Okay.
All right? Every white person should be doing that. I mean, really, initiate it themselves.
All right.
But if they don't, well, black people should put it on their minds. So which is what we try to do with page 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could be that the family, the Fuller family that owns the Fuller Brush Company, very popular company with Fuller brushes, or Steve Fuller, the former quarterback of the Clemson Tigers who beat the Buckeyes in 1978, 17-15, could be your relation. Is that correct?
Well, he could be going way back in history, one of the owners of the people who passed the name down to me.
Yeah.
All right? And I would say these people request right now in the air. If you hear about this, get in touch with me. I mean, I invite you to get in touch with me if you want to be of help to one of your, people that you got a lot of help from.
Okay.
According to the history books that have been written by white people, unless they lied. I don't think they lied about that because they bragged about it. How many slaves they owned.
Yeah, yes.
So if Mr. Fuller out there, Mrs. Fuller out there, wherever you happen to be, even going all the way back to Buckingham Palace, if there's any Fullers there, I mean, you probably have something if you're in Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, you
can probably deliver something to me right away and help me in my quest to do what? Produce justice. Replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice.
Okay.
And I think that's an honorable goal to be associated with the white Fullers of this world.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Which is a direct line before we get to the call for you to speak about your book. Mr. Fuller?
Yeah. You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is all the information you need, including an advertisement with this program, TalkTameRadio.com. But go to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the textbook for victims of white supremacy. If you don't consider yourself a victim of white supremacy, and I see a lot of talk now. I saw something on television last night of the word victimhood. They say all these people running around, buying into this victimhood thing. Everybody's claiming that they're a victim. Well, I'm either making a false claim or I'm not. They are victims of auto accidents.
Yes.
Insurance companies all the time saying, are you a victim of that accident? There's a victim of rape. They're talking a lot about that on television every day. Rape victims. So you have victims of racism, or you don't. If racism didn't produce victims, why get rid of racism? Racism is about producing victims, unless I've been misinformed. So go to the textbook for victims of white supremacy, and it tells the individual victim, it makes some suggestions about what you can do about it as an individual victim of racism. And that's the badge that I use.
Okay.
That fits me. I'm a victim of racism, and I have plenty of evidence to show it.
Okay. So if the Queen or whoever that's in charge of that stuff at Buckingham Palace wants to get in contact with you live over the air, how would they do that?
Oh, just go to producejustice.com. That'd be the first way.
Okay. And
Payment Radio, call in from Buckingham Palace, right back there with your golden telephone.
Okay.
And say, hey, I'm one of the original fellows here in Buckingham Palace.
Okay.
And I would like to get in touch with you and see what it is your dilemma is. Okay, I'm ready to talk about my dilemma.
I know you are. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. I hope you're not from Buckingham Palace, are you?
No, I'm not from Buckingham Palace.
Okay.
Not this time.
Not this time. Okay, go ahead, bro.
My name is James, and I'm calling from North Carolina.
Yes, sir, James.
I have a question for Mr. Fuller.
Okay.
Mr. Fuller, in the past, you stated that there is a mechanism that can be used to determine if white people are pure evil. If you will, please identify what that mechanism is, how it functions, and provide step-by-step instruction for the victims of white supremacy to effectively use it to reach a logical, scientific conclusion.
Okay, that's
by doing what the code book says that you do when you interact with white people. Try to get them to do the correct thing in all circumstances: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some people who say that white people are evil just by nature. Okay? The mechanism for finding that out is to put it to an individual test. That's the best way to find out anything. Put things, the code says, put everything to an individual test. The people that you work with, if you want to ascertain whether or not they're evil or not by nature, okay, that's a call for you to make, not for somebody else to make to you. They can suggest it, but people suggest things all the time. I have a book of suggestions. But see, according to the code, every individual is supposed to test out everything themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy into anything that Neely Fuller says at face value at all. Never do that. I always tell people I could be making huge mistakes. All right? So you don't want to make the same mistakes that Neely Fuller makes, and I've made a bunch of them. In fact, most of my existence has been a mistake up to this point, according to my own standards, because I haven't overcome racism, which means everything that I've done, functionally, has been a mistake. So don't buy into anything that Neely Fuller says until you test it. And then you're not testing Neely Fuller. You're testing whether something is true or false.
Yes.
Universal truth. Always go with that. So the white people that you work around, that's a good place to start. Just put it to a test about whether or not they are willing to do the correct thing by you all the time, or the correct thing by anybody.
Okay.
Put it to a test, and let them put you to a test, and see if you have the correct intentions. Because the whole idea is to find out what's evil and what isn't.
Okay.
What should be done and what shouldn't. That's how you do it.
Yes, sir.
It's what should be done and what shouldn't that will produce the most constructive result.
All righty. This comes from the Gmails. Jordan, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to contact you about the rest of it. But, Mr. Fuller, I have received several Gmails concerning your suggestions of movies. And I did say that I would read the entire list, 40 movies that you highly recommend. And I'm going to do that right now. And this, I think, is going to be the last time that I read the entire list over the air. But with the help of Jordan, I could do something else about that. But anyway, here they are.
You want to do that?
Well, if you haven't, you can go right through the 40. Yeah, that would even be better. If you have all
I know the people have requested it, but I am going to put that up. I keep promising to do it. I've been doing it for about 5 years, making this promise.
Yes.
But I'm going to put that up on the website. But I don't think we should take up this particular right now, because there's so many people that want to call in. And see, the movies were sort of like a side thing. I don't have a
it took off. It just took off, and people Gmail me all the time wanting you to do just exactly what you said to the whole list. So instead of reading it all at one time, we broke it up until we got all 40 movies, and now they want that complete list. So you're going to put it up on your site?
I'm going to have to do this, but I prefer not to do it on radio time.
Okay.
Because that will take too long, and people who are waiting, so many people have emailed you. You say you have tons of emails.
Oh, no, they want that so badly.
I'm trying to get those questions answered. The list was just something that I thought of that might be handy for people to look for the lessons of their existence on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you can make their own list, all right? You know, it's not anything that's really all that specific. But I have my own list that I thought, you know, had a lot of lessons in it.
Right.
In fact, I haven't finished the list that I have. All right. Did we have some more? We did have a few more to read, right?
No. Well, you said 40, and that's where it was cut off at, but it had legs of its own.
Where did we cut off at?
You cut off at the 40th one as...
Which is what?
Picnic.
Picnic.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, picnic.
Right.
Yeah, that was the last
right
one.
After that, do I have Dancer, Texas, population 81?
No, sir, because you said 40, and for some reason that has stuck.
That's stuck. Actually, there's a few more. It's about 10 to 12 more after that.
Well, good. You can put that on that list that you are going to put up eventually.
Yes, sir. I will be doing that.
Okay. Now, you heard Mr. Neely Fuller, what he just said, so, you know, take heed to that, and hopefully, like...
Right, I'll try to get this up. I'll try to get the people that I'm working with to get that list up as soon as possible.
Okay. All righty. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Going to the Gmails. Some people were speaking about last week's show. We handled that. Don't know what happened, but it's handled. Let's see here. Question from Babatume. Let's see. He says, Mr. Fuller, and we may not get a chance to do all of it. He said this: how are black people a waste of people? Aren't the white supremacist racist suspects the ones that are waste people, being that they are the most capable of producing justice and deliberately choose not to? Is that the epitome of being wasteful?
Being what now?
Is that the epitome of being wasteful?
Wasteful?
Yes.
And so the question is,
how are black people a waste people? Aren't the white supremacist racist suspects?
Oh, race, R-A-C-E.
Aren't the white supremacist racist suspects the ones that are the waste people, being that they are the most capable of producing justice and deliberately choose not to?
Oh, sure. The most powerful people are always the people who are most capable of doing what? Of guaranteeing that people are not mistreated. See, whomever is the most powerful person in a room of 10 is always the person who is more capable by having that power to either mistreat people or not, help people or not. That's it. Producing justice. The most powerful person, the smartest and most powerful person. And, of course, in order to have power, you have to be smart.
Okay.
All right? Which black people, the white supremacists are always trying to get black people to do everything except get smart.
All right. Music time here. We have come to the end of the first hour. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. We will hear you or see you on the second hour. Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all.
Talktainment Radio worldwide. TalkTainmentRadio.com will give you a reason to come. the world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or KD World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, and exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Alrighty, welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. To get in contact with the show, you call 1-877-932-9766. Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can also go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on Listen Live. You're right there. Subscribe and like the show. You can also do this. Go to the YouTube channel, type in Talktainment, hit the scroll button and hit radio, then scroll down to Talktainment number 2. You're live on YouTube, and then you can hit the subscribe and like button there. And finally, Facebook.com/Talktainment. Got something for you here. Francis Cresswell's, and check this out. Okay, yeah, we're queuing that up. Our on-screen topic today is the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of racism, white supremacy. And we had a word there, but I'm told to go ahead on. Okay, while we're doing that, Mr. Fuller, I've also had many Gmails that wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Brother Thompson is the one that predominantly is going to, or I may speak for all the people that actually acknowledged your birthday. You had a situation where you indicated that you don't celebrate birthdays, but birthdays. Could you briefly explain that, please, sir?
Well, we're born just on one day. Now, of course, in Christian theology, spiritually, you're born twice. If you accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, according to many scholars and many religious theologians in the Christian religion, to the best of my understanding, and people can correct me if I'm incorrect about that, but that's what I've been told. You could be born twice. You're born physically into a world through the womb of a female person, and you come into the world that way as a baby, and that is whatever day that you were born is considered your birthday. But then, after you are introduced to a person called Jesus of Nazareth, who in Christian theology is the Savior of the world, they say, and you accept that person as being your own personal Savior, and then after you're baptized, if you're a Baptist, I guess, then you are born again, all right? But for people who are not of that persuasion, and who are not, or people in general, or just people, period, you actually, physically, I don't know about spiritually, but you just have one birthday, physically. I have one birthday, physically. That was the day that I was born. I'm not born every 365 days.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a birthday. I do not go back into the womb and start all over again every 365 days, and I've never seen anybody or heard of anybody who actually did that. to start all over again, get to be 1 year old. All right, every 365 days. Now, so that's why I say you have one birthday, then you have birthdays. You're starting with the day that you were born. You breathe. You inhale. You inhale. And you keep inhaling and exhaling each and every day. Even when you're asleep at night, you're inhaling and exhaling. Those are breath days. All right? And you have one breath day right after another until you finally have, a death day. You just have breath days and then a death day. One death day. See, just like you were born on one day, you will die one day. You don't die the next day after that, the next day after that, the next day after that. Once you're dead, you're dead. Except in Christian theology, you'll be resurrected.
Just let me have that paper.
Coming of the Savior again. But that's in Christian theology. So I've been told. But once you die, you stay dead. In fact, there's a comedian called Red Fox. A lot of people are familiar with him. He said, there's only one thing wrong with being dead. And that is, you stay dead too long.
Okay. Wow. All righty. Red Fox. You'd stay dead too long. Okay. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can get in contact with the show to ask Mr. Fuller any question you'd like. Our own topic today is the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy, racism. But as you know, you can go off topic. Mr. Fuller, Brother Javari has said this. He says, from my studies, Mr. Fuller, I have found English to have been constructed as a programming language for behavior modification. They purposely hide the true meaning of words and then often give us the opposite meaning in everyday usage. That allows them to more easily control us. What do you think, Mr. Fuller, of learning other languages to help counter this persuasive and mostly unnoticed effect?
Learn everything that you possibly can, including languages. Everything that you can use in a constructive manner to produce a constructive result. Learning. That's why in the opening of this program, I say what? I say I'm still learning. Why? Because I hope that I'm still learning, because there's no such thing as being educated. There's no such thing as an educated person in recorded history as far as I know of. Except maybe the Creator, who knows everything, all right, or what you call God, or a great spirit, whatnot. You can make that assumption. But for people, I don't know of any person that knows everything. I never heard of one. Other than, they say that if the Creator takes the form of a person, that would be the exception. But just what you call the ordinary person, like myself, and whatnot, you're supposed to be in a learning mode all the time.
Yes, sir.
There's no such thing as finishing education. That's something that people thought up to control other people. You have now finished your education. What does that usually mean? For a king or a dictator or a white supremacist, it means you have learned enough to serve me. And I don't want you to learn anything else, because if you learn more than that, you might not be serving me. So I want you to serve me. So dictators always want people to be limited in what they know and understand. Just know what I tell you and understand what I tell you and use the words that I tell you to use. And that way I can always control you, because I have your mind. I can go to sleep now, because I have your mind and you think the way that I have taught you to think.
Okay.
That's what white supremacists have done everywhere.
Alrighty. 1-877-932-9766 or Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Mr. Fuller, Black Rant says this: black people's worst problem is our inability to control our emotions. We get upset all over again every time there's another shooting or someone says the N-word like Papa John's did recently. According to the code, Mr. Fuller, how do black people get control of their emotions and stop flying off the handle when we are provoked by the media?
Understanding white supremacy. That's why I put it in the front of the textbook for victims of white supremacy. If you don't understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. And when you're confused, you get angry, you lash out in all directions and whatnot, like any organism that's confused. If you look at an ant, if that ant gets confused, the ant becomes agitated, or an insect, a fly buzzing around in a house, and trying to find that current of air so it can go outside. The fly wants to change where it is, the environment. But the fly keeps going up against the window. And it buzz around in the room and then come up against the window again. Because the fly doesn't understand that glass. See, that glass keeps stopping the fly. The fly can see where it wants to go. It sees the trees out there and all like that and the flowers. It's trying to go out there, where it can get some food. It's not getting any nourishment here. Here in somebody's bedroom or living room. So it's trying to find its way out. So you can tell the flies buzzing and whatnot sometimes. Those type of flies that buzz.
Okay.
They make noises. They're agitated. And once they can get outside, you open the window and they fly out. Then, the agitation subsides. People are the same way.
Yes.
So black people are locked in. We're prisoners of war. And we don't understand that we're prisoners of war. See, that's where the agitation comes from.
Okay.
We're in an environment that we don't understand is designed to keep us in a submissive state, in an ignorant state, in a destructive state.
Yes, sir.
And we don't know how we got there because we think everything is supposed to be better than it is. Not in this condition, not in the system of white supremacy. Once you understand you are subject to the system of white supremacy, then you become calm.
Okay. He finally says this: Mr. Fuller, what practical steps can we take to control our emotions better so that we can be more logical in how we handle the daily onslaught of white supremacy, racism, and see past their tricks?
Start with the textbook of the victims of white supremacy or any other book that will help you to understand the condition that you're in and why you're in it. See, once the fly understands its environment, or a bee, or a bird, once you understand your environment, you become calm and methodical. See, that's the result of understanding. When you understand anything, threading a needle, you get frustrated in threading a needle. If you're trying to put that thread through the eye of that needle, and for some reason you just can't get it through there, all right? So what you do is put on a pair of glasses, and you can see the opening in that needle, and now you get what? You begin to get calmer than you were before. You've been trying to do this for the last 15 minutes. Now you put on your glasses, and you can see it better. That increased your understanding. It's clear to you now what wasn't clear. And now you put the thread, through that eye of the needle, and the thread is now in the needle.
Okay.
And you have calmed down as a result of that. That applies to everything else. Knowledge and understanding of what's going on around you and why. And this all comes from doing what? Having the answers to questions.
Having answers to questions.
Because the way you solve problems, I don't care where you are, who you are, or what you are, or be a bird, is to have the answers to questions.
All righty. From the Gmails again, but by the way, 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. Our brother from South Africa, Brother Sapilo, says this, Mr. Neely Fuller, the hormone oxytocin is said to be a love hormone. It creates a bond between lovers, people in general, but most importantly, between mother and child. I believe excess sex in the black female group is contributing to schizophrenia when it comes to the masses of black males. Lack of sexual or human contact among black males is resulting in oxytocin deficiency. Seems like the white supremacists using economics places poor black women in an unnatural position where they are required to have sex with more than one male or jump from one man to another. I have a hard time, Mr. Fuller, bonding with the women who birthed me. Also have gone through a situation where a black policeman was obsessed with a woman I was involved with and ended up in a people getting shot, 2 died, and as a result, the black men seem to be really depressed, which is why we see the news of black men killing their mates. Mr. Fuller, could it be that the cesarean section is a way of the white supremacists to attack us at birth? Since the process of birth is disturbed with a, quote, C-section, could this in turn sabotage the bondage between parent and child from birth?
The answer is yes. If that's the result, you're looking at the result. And so the only question is this constructive or non-constructive? Because every move that people make, every move that any insect or animal make, is going to be either constructive or non-constructive in effect. So that's how you measure everything. And in the system of white supremacy, anything that happens to non-white people, to people of color, that should not happen, the white supremacists are the usual suspects, either directly or indirectly. They are to blame.
Yes.
Why? Because they set up this situation so that these things happen.
Okay.
So that you go swiftly to that answer.
Okay.
And then you start trying to codify what you do to correct it by examining, first of all, what is going on, what's causing it, and then try to get to the root of the cause.
Okay.
And try to do the best that you can. Now, I want to say this, because we're talking about male-female relations, and I'm going to repeat this over and over again. It will never be the way that it ought to be in the system of white supremacy. It's impossible to get it the way that it should be.
Why?
Male-female interaction is not going to happen.
Why?
The way that you can get it to a level of satisfaction.
Yes.
But see, that's an emotional thing.
Oh, yeah.
But you cannot get it the way that it should be because the white supremacists are not going to let it.
Okay.
That's a must for them.
Okay.
They cannot let black males and black females have the type of relationship that they should have. They absolutely cannot do that. That is fatal to them. This is why they want all of this sexuality among black people messed up.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're doing it in South Africa big time.
Right.
With the spread of AIDS and all like that. That's all the white supremacists designed. I mean, they are the usual suspects.
Okay.
Regardless of what anybody says that, oh no, I mean, this just came out of nowhere. This doesn't have anything to do with race and all like that. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Anything that happens that shouldn't happen to black people, anything, in any area of activity, not just in sex and economics or anything else, they are the usual suspects. Why? Because they're in charge, that's why.
Okay.
You always blame the captain of the ship for anything that goes
time reference. He finally said this: could our confused sexual habits be contributing to our mental sickness?
Absolutely. Totally. I mean, we are mentally messed up. Why? If you're going to control people over a long period of time without having to stand over with a gun all the time, how do you do it best? You do it best by controlling their thinking. You design all the things that they like, the beer parlors and everything, you know. You tell them what's glamorous. You tell them what's important and what is not. You put up billboards and tell them what to buy and have them chasing around trying to buy it, and you control the money that they're going to have to buy it. All right? So once you control the minds of people, you got everything. Now you don't have to stand over with a whip or a gun and make them do everything minute by minute. You can go to sleep, and they'll be on automatic. They will be carrying out all of your wishes while you're asleep, and you wake up like Rip Van Winkle 20 years later. They're still doing the same thing because they're on automatic. They have been serving you the whole time you were asleep. So you wake up stronger than you were before you went to bed. That's the white supremacist strategy. And when they mess you up sexually, they have messed you up in everything. And they are working full time doing that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Woo! TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go, and all you have to do is download the TalkTameAtRadio.com to your app or to your cell. And that's the way that Talktainment Radio operates. We are a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I am going to share with you right now, and it is called This Is Libby. Now, if you have never listened to This Is Libby, it is a show that deals with holistic medicine, holistic approaches to life, things you should do, things that you may not want to do. Give it a listen and see if there's something in there for you. And all this comes from TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And our topic today has been the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy racism. This is the second addition to that. And we've had Mr. Fuller address this issue, and we've had calls about that. And if you would like to call, you can do this by calling 1-877-932-9766. And this gentleman said I can use his name. His name is Victor Palmer, and he says, yes, it is a planet dominated by white supremacists, racist men and racist women who are classified as white. So what is the issues you want to address for your life? And he says that he wants to reclaim my manhood that was stripped before I was born and become what the creator of the universe intended for me to be. I was told it originally was so, but we lost a major world war against the racists. But we continue to resist the battles that we have worldwide. My only problem is that the global system of white supremacy, that my only problem is being mistreated. Mr. Fuller, can you address that, and how can we overcome this?
The only problem, he said, is how do you overcome the mistreatment?
Yes.
Through a code. That's the missing link. That's the one thing we don't have. We don't have a method for going about doing things. That's all it takes. If you're going to put a new tire on a car, you have to have a method for doing so. We don't have a method for doing anything when it comes to racism. I mean, and we just have emotional responses. I don't like that name that he called me. Boo-hoo-hoo. All right? We need to examine that and say, how am I supposed to react to name calling? In the code book, I try to make suggestions as how do you react to anything. is happening. There's a best way and a worse way for doing anything. And so, therefore, just on a thing like name calling, because that's been mentioned here on the program, somebody calls you a name, Kefir, or Scully, or Shine, or Spook, or the N-word.
Or MF.
Yes, right. Something black people call each other in the Northwestern Hemisphere, MF. Okay? How do you respond to that? Okay? The code says you simply listen to what's being said, and that's your response. You take note of who's saying it and what the conditions are and all like that, and that's it. And if if the person is addressing you like they are being aggressive or something like that, you want to find out what are they being aggressive about in this particular instance.
What if they put their hands on you?
Oh, that's different. Now, you repel that aggression. That's aggression. If the person is trying, physically trying to do something, all right? First of all, you try to pull away from the person, but if you can't, then you repel that aggression the best way you can.
But you could get shot like that when people report the police.
I'm saying you have to make an assessment now, because that's the physical thing. But words, no word should ever do anything to you emotionally except to alert you that something is being said, and you interpret what is being said about what the action is going to be afterwards.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, so
always think about what the action is going to be.
Okay. Now, that old expression, and I'm sure that you have heard of this, that at least it was told to me this way: sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
That's correct. That's a decision. See, the listener to a word makes the decision about what they're going to do about the word. See, because the word is just something that you listen to. Somebody's delivering a message to you. If I'm called the N-word, that is a message. I am delivering a message to you. For you are and they call me the N-word.
Yes.
Or Shine, or Coon, or MF, or whatever. It might even say, and I'm throwing your mother in there too.
Whoa!
All right? And so it comes down to now I have a decision to make. That's a decision for me to make. And according to the code, I will say, what is the problem? Or what do you mean by that?
You've actually said this.
Oh, if anybody wants to test me right now, anywhere in the world, I'll always say, hey, that's the magic of having, or the science of having a code. With name calling, you can't call me any kind of name that you can possibly think of, including names that never even been thought up. And that's going to upset me. Just plain old, what you call straight out name calling, Kefir, Cool, Shine,
Is that because you don't care?
Word, MF, and even if you want to write up a whole book of words,
yes,
but you address it to my mother. Say, these are the terms I've come up for Neely Fuller's dead mother. All right? And starting with, A through Z in the English language.
Yes, sir.
And I have 200 names, derogatory names, for Neely Fuller's mother in this book. All right? In each alphabetical category. 200 for A, 200 for B, 200 for C, and on and on and on. Right on through Z.
Does that mean that you
mail me that book, and I look at it, and it's supposed to be synonyms for my mother, and all of them are derogatory, and you know what my reaction will be? Seems like he spent quite a bit of effort on this.
All right, you got to leave it.
So I got no problem with it.
Got to leave it right there, Mr. Fuller. TalkToMeRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkToMeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. Have a couple of phone calls and more Gmails. All that and more coming up next on TalkToMeRadio.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kitchen online. ASHKIN. Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kitchen products are better than those other guys. Ash Kitchen candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK15. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling alright.
Shop online at www.ashkikin.com.
Everyone's talking about the local candidates forum. St. Dominic Roman Catholic Church, 453 West 20th Street, Columbus, Ohio. Saturday, October 20th, from 10 to 1, with Ursula Robinson and Kahana Ohio as moderators. Sponsored by Blacks in Government, Federally Employed Women, and a host of other organizations. Come out and meet the candidates and find out who really supports your issue.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you're ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
You trusted Judge Terry Jamison when you elected her in 2012. She came to the domestic and juvenile court with experience as a trial lawyer in criminal, domestic, and juvenile law, serving Columbus and Franklin County residents. Re-elect Judge Terry Jamison to the Court of Common Pleas, Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch. Judge Terry Jamison, justice tempered with mercy, because your family matters.
I'm Judge Terry Jamison. I'm asking for your vote on November the 6th, 2018. I was voted in by the community because your family matters. Thank you.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inahara, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
This is Al Robinson, owner of the Color Brother West Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Make the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the Compensatory Concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept on the air. Thank you.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we have been discussing part 2 of the emasculation and feminization of the black male in the system of white supremacy racism. This is the second part. First part was last week, and we had some issues, but they have seemed to be cleared up. If you have any questions, you can call in right now. Phone lines are open. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call, or you can Gmail me at the numeral number 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. And Brother Thompson has done that, and he asked this question, Mr. Fuller. He said, Mr. Fuller says that we are all prisoners of war. If that is the case, and I believe it is, Mr. Fuller, are you saying that our homeland is America, KKK, and not Africa?
Oh, there's no such thing as America, or Africa, or Asia. These are just titles. These are words. What do these words mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be an American? What does it actually mean? People write poems about it and songs and all like that. What is America to me? That's a question. All right? I am an American. Then you got a football player who may be called what? An All-American. Stop and think about it now. Here's a person that plays football, and this person is called, because somebody said so. I don't know who that somebody is. This is an All-American. Now, if a football player is an All-American based on whatever criteria that is, I don't know what criteria. What is the criteria for being a football player who's an All-American? Does anybody know? Maybe you can tell me, Mr. Bobby.
No, I don't. I'm still learning.
Yeah. Well, I've never even heard. I've never even looked at it or asked somebody until just now. Really, this moment. That's the first time I've asked that question in my entire existence. But I've heard about a football player being an All-American. Now, if a football player is an All-American based on what criteria, I don't know. Since, hey, Mr. What's the gentleman's name who took the knee?
Oh, Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, okay. Is he All-American for taking a knee? I mean, or is he un-American because somebody said he's un-American? So what is an American? What is an African? What is an Asian? What makes an Asian an Asian? What makes an African an African? I mean, is there a certain river you cross, or a certain ritual you go through, or you burn a certain type of incense on a certain day when the moon is at a certain position in the sky, and now you become officially an African. I am now, as of today, an African. They'll say, well, an African is a person who's born in Africa. All right? Well, then you have people who say, well, an African is a person that's born in Africa? Well, what part of Africa? And born where? And what color person? See, because I understand you have generations of white people who are born in what is called Africa. All right, a place. They'll say, well, Africa is just not a place. It's a whole way of thinking. It's a whole way of going about doing things. Going about doing things like what? See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Or they'll say this is an American dish. So what the code says, Africans, Americans, and Asians do not exist. Do not exist according to what? According to Neely Fuller's writings. Since Neely Fuller wrote this, that's what I'm saying. Neely Fuller is saying it. Well, what is he basing it on? Because an American, an African, and an Asian are all the same thing according to what I have written. And I stick by it.
Okay.
And what are these things? In order to be an American, an African, or an Asian, you have to practice justice. a person and you don't practice justice, it doesn't make any difference what anybody calls you. Because what you really are in function is a person that does not practice justice. So I'm saying Africans, Americans, and Asians do not exist. Because none of the people of this planet, last time I checked, practice justice. Why? Because you can't have justice and white supremacy on the same planet at the same time.
Okay.
So what is all this that we call by the correct name? You have people, white people, non-white people, and white supremacists. And the white supremacists are the most powerful people of those three categories of people on the planet. And that's all that you have.
That's all you have.
White people, non-white people, and white supremacists. No Americans, no Africans, no Asians. They don't exist.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are now on with your question for Mr. Fuller.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I know you guys spoke on this briefly earlier, but I wanted to ask a question about black male and black women relationships. Mr. Fuller, I've been noticing a lot lately that men have actually been saying that females are nothing and downing the black female. Now, I'm only 25, but I can remember growing up, you know, you had a lot of women saying stuff about the men, but now men are saying negative things about the women. Now, the first thing that I thought of, as you always say, that it's just more and more confusion. But what do you think about this? Is this something new? Is this a new plan that they're using, men against women? Or
the answer is no. It's not new. There was an old blues song going back to the 1930s or 40s. I remember it. I'm going to knock out your teeth. I'm taking you to dentist in the morning.
What?
I'm taking you to the dentist in the morning. Because I'm knocking out your teeth tonight. Those are the lines in a blues song. Circa 1940 or something like that, 42. I mean, it's, you know, I'm going to snatch me a picket right off of my back fence. Going to whoop you, baby, till you learn some sense. Okay? All right, a lot of songs like that black people say. So when they say the hip-hoppers are putting women down and all like that, that's nothing new. All right? We have been trained that way. That goes with the system of white supremacy. The black male is supposed to be doing everything he can to say something and do something derogatory where the black female is concerned. That way he ain't going after the white supremacists, okay? That's understood. And the black female reacting to that, say, these no good, these black men ain't no good, I'm going to get me a white one. That's exactly what the white supremacists want, all right? So, you know, the black girls are taught at an early age to be Cinderella, to be Barbie. If you don't look like Barbie, you ain't quite with it. I don't care how black you are, you better find some bleaching cream and some blonde hair, and you better get you some artificial blue eyes so you can look like Barbie, lady. Otherwise, you need to commit suicide. It ain't nothing to you.
And then they
don't do it at all. That's the white supremacist philosophy, and they have gotten a lot of us to buy into it. Okay? But here's the converse thing. During the 1960s, we started saying, we're proud to be black. All right? And I immediately said, we don't need to do none of that either. You don't have to be proud to be black.
So when James Brown said that, I said loud, I'm black and I'm proud, you said that?
I said that way before he said that. Of course, that's just my opinion. And I'm saying, first of all, you didn't have anything to do with being black. So you don't ever be proud of something that you didn't have nothing to do with. Okay? You're black because you're black. Your creator made you that way. Marcus Garvey got it correct first time around. He said, God made the black man black, and he didn't make a mistake. End of story. You don't have to explain nothing to nobody about the way that you look. You the middle and try to make any adjustments of any kind. None. None of that. I mean, look at your hair and start trying to do something with it. I mean, that's going to make you acceptable to somebody and whatnot. Stop doing any of that. Stop doing any of it. Just, hey, you're okay just the way you are. Just the way you are. I mean, hey, take it or leave it.
Wow.
And if you got an argument about it, take it up with my Creator. You want to argue with me about how I look, about my nose or my lips or my hair or my eyes or the color of my skin, and you're going to trap me into making an argument where I got to defend it, or I got to say something nice about it, or I got to be proud of it, or be sad about it, or go through some type of emotional trip that keeps tearing me apart? No. That's a white supremacist trick. We don't have to do any of that.
Wow.
You just walk right up to a white person and say, hey, I'm me. Deal with it. Just as I am. Well, you better go and do something with yourself and then come back. No, I'm not doing nothing to myself. I'm not doing nothing to my hair, my eyes, my skin color, nothing. Now, you deal with that.
Wow.
As is. And if you got a beef about it, take it up with my Creator. See, good luck with that.
You know, it makes me laugh because I'm thinking about something you said in previous shows about a song that I never knew that was in existence that said, I told you that I love you, but now get out.
Yes.
That just, wow, I didn't even know that. But anyway, speaking about getting out, let's get out of that and get out of this. This is the time for the expression of your book. So go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, go to producejustice.com, and a lot of the questions that people are asking on this program, as in other programs, are in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. And including what to do about, you know, all of this sexual confusion and whatnot. It's there on page 343 for those who already have the book that you can get by going to producejustice.com. Counter-racist sexual. That's what we all should try to be according to the textbook for victims of racism. See, counter-racism is not about just talking about how awful everything is. It's about what to do about it as an individual person. That's what the book is designed for. It's to direct it to the individual person about what to do about, hopefully, everything on a daily basis. You're somewhere on this map, somewhere in this world, every minute of every day. So you should be doing something. Hopefully, of constructive value in this prison called white supremacy as best you can. So this book is designed to, as best you can, lots of things you can't do, but what you can do, you try to do the best you can with the circumstances you're given. And the book tries to tell each individual, males, females, non-white people, victims of racism, wherever they happen to be, the best way, suggestions. You don't have to do it. And before you do it, you make sure that it makes sense to you. Don't ever do anything, regardless of what NEELY Fuller says to anybody else. Don't do it if it looks like it's not going to come up with a what? Constructive result.
Yes.
No, you examine it, because everybody's circumstances are different. But they are just suggestions in this textbook, including what to say and what not to say, what to do and what not to do.
Yes, sir.
In every area of activity. Go to it by going to producejustice.com.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned something as you were talking about the book, your book, and then you mentioned on page 343 and actually it starts on page 342, and you said some of these additional sexual categories that the racist white supremacists promote may have titles similar to some of the following. And you almost go through the entire alphabet of different things like all sexual, democrisexual, gigolo-sexual, half-sexual, master-sexual, other-sexual, polysexual, quad-sexual, true-sexual, rural-sexual, homosexual, what have you. Then you said there is a reason to believe that a substantial part of the white supremacist, racist sexual confusion is to promote the concept that the vagina of the non-white female is of little or no value in the world of, quote, future sexual classifications.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That is one of the, when it comes to the black female,
yes, sir,
what they're doing, they're saying, little by little, the black female vagina is obsolete. And the new black vagina for black males, or for any other male, but mostly non-white male, is the white male anus. That's what they're going to finally arrive at after they get through sorting out all of this sexual, thing. They're going to try to make that clear, I think. I think that's where they're headed.
To the white male's anus.
The black female vagina is something that obsolete. It's something that shouldn't even exist. I mean, a black female doesn't have a vagina.
What?
Because they're going to masculinize her anyway, and what she'll have on is a plastic strap-on that you see it in a lot of the catalogs for women already. These strap-on phalluses and whatnot. And then she'll go looking for a white woman, because that would be her holy grail, because the only holy grail of vaginas will be the white vagina. The vagina, this is the white supremacist strategy, ultimately. See, they're going in a roundabout way of doing it. But I think I could be in error. See, I can't predict the future. But I have said these things as far back as 1972. That's when I said that the white supremacists will have black males wanting to be females. More than anything. I mean, and that the white supremacists, with any black male that shows tendencies that he wants to be a female, or that he is, he's just what we call a homosexual by birth, which we know that, and all like that, but the white supremacists got an agenda for that person, and that is, I'll help you do anything that you want to do, as long as you help me spread that word, and try to get everybody to be just like you are. Everybody, without exception. And we don't leave nobody out. Everybody of color. All right? That will be that homosexual black male's assignment according to the white supremacists. It's not to belittle or to beat up on people who are so-called gay. That's not what this book is about, or this segment of the book, or counter-racist ideology. I mean, we all have people like that we know personally, if we're not that way ourselves. But it is what the white supremacist agenda is. And this should even be alarming to black people who are so-called gay. They should be paying attention. Wait a minute. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in here that ain't in my plan. So what are the white supremacists up to when it comes to black people's sexuality, period? For the black female, what is their agenda in 2018? For the black male, for the black child at an early age, I mean the younger children, 5 years old, which they're dumping all this stuff on, all kinds of corpus sexual, flash sexual, orthosexual, breast sexual in the church. Hey, come on up here and right up to the altar here. Hey, we're going to have, tonight is going to be orgy night, folks. Here at the First Baptist Church. Come one, come all. Bring your partners. I mean, we don't discriminate against anybody. That's discrimination. Come on in. And we're going to not only say that it's okay and have marriages and all like that, we're going to have ceremonies like we did in the old days, in ancient times, some of us, back in the Roman Empire. All right? Particularly in the Christian church. Let's have an orgy night here at First Baptist Church. Bring your partners.
And this is going on now.
Hey, it's right on the edge, mister. ain't just neither full of talking a lot of crazy talk. Open your eyes and take a look yourself. Who's promoting this, and who's going to benefit from it? I'm saying the white supremacists, and only the white supremacists, are going to benefit from all of this. It's going to take a little while to get to it, but look for it. I'll long be dead when it comes to fruition. But you can look back on it and say, well, hey, maybe neither four called that one correct. You might have been incorrect about some things, you know, but maybe you ain't incorrect about this one. They don't do things without a reason.
Okay.
The white supremacists do not do anything
without a reason.
It's not going to make them powerful.
Okay. Do you see any correlation between what has happened in the news recently with this journalist from, I believe it was the Washington Post, that went into the Saudi Arabian consulate and, I can't say disappeared, but there's evidence suggesting that he was hacked up, murdered, and so forth, and the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. Do you see any correlation between those two incidents?
Well, it could be. I don't know. I always say what the code says. This is the way to say it officially. To the extent that a racist had anything to do with it, is to make the system of white supremacy stronger. That's the way you say it.
Okay, could you say, according to compensatory logic, of those two incidents, that the racists did have something to do with it? Could you say that, according to compensatory logic?
According to compensatory logic, if it has anything to do with power among people on this planet, the white supremacists have something to do with everything that has something to do with power. All right? Anything that's going to make a person powerful or make a non-white person weaker, the white supremacists have something to do with it in the system of white supremacy. That's an absolute.
Whether we see it or not.
Whether you see it or not. And they are very, very expert at keeping you from seeing what they don't want you to see.
Yeah.
They know how to hide their hands. They are expert at what you might call puppetry. Doing things, magicians. See, a magician does something in such a way you don't know how they did it.
With your eyes open.
With your eyes, you're looking right at it. How did that rabbit come out of that hat? All right? That's a magician. The white supremacists are superb at that. They are better than anybody that's ever existed at making things look like they are not something other than what it is.
Experts in confusion.
Yes, experts in confusion. That's what the textbook for victims of racism is designed for us as victims to help unravel. Because once you unravel a thing, once you know how that rabbit really came out of that hat, then the show is over.
Yeah, there's some trickery or chicanery.
Yeah, once you understand how that the rabbit didn't really come out of that hat and how he actually did that, then he can no longer go on the road and do that.
Okay. Well, when you hear the music, you know what that means. Mr. Fuller, we thank you. Callers, Gmailers, we thank you, and thank you for the pleasure of your time. TalkTimeAtRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.